Hello everyone, welcome into another tactics video here on the channel. I'm Ash, as always, and today we have another tactics tutorial video for you on this channel. For those of you who are new, we cover all things FIFA, Football Manager, and I guess if Konami hadn't have murdered the franchise, PES as well. And we have the third and final player instructions tactics tutorial. Now, a couple of months ago, I covered all defenders and midfielders player instructions and explained what they are and what they do and how they work in game. But content was kind of coming out my ears at that point. It was very busy to schedule, and then I realised recently that I'd forgotten to do the attackers, probably the most exciting and important one. So today we have that third and final tactics tutorial. Sorry it's been a bit late, but we are going to get to it. For those of you who are new, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and ring the bell to get notifications every time I upload. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. On there you can get lots of fantastic perks and rewards, such as my FIFA 23 tactics package with rankings and ratings on every tactic that we cover on the channel. We do lots of tactic recreation videos, as well as Discord server access, exclusive tactics videos, early access, and a whole lot more as well. Some Football Manager 2023 perks coming that way as well, so if you're into that, go and check it out. With that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all of the attacking instructions. We've got the three positions, which is the kind of the right and left winger and also the striker as well. Remember that a right winger's kind of position and instructions is the same as that of a wide midfielder, so they're all the same one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the three instructions, or three positions, and I'll tell you each and every instruction and what it does and explain it for you. Remember, if you haven't gone and watched the defenders and midfield instructions explained, then do go and check them ones out after this video. Right then, first things first, with the wingers, both of these of course have the same instructions. Defensive support, we kind of went through this in the last video with the attacking midfielder, but we'll gloss over it very shortly here. Do go and check that video out for more of an explanation. Now obviously you have the three settings. You've got stay forward, basic, and come back on defense. Now basic defensive support is very much dependent on the player's work rate. So for example, in this case here, we've got two wingers with kind of medium defensive work rate, so it's going to be sporadic how often they kind of help out the defence and track back. If you've got someone with a high defensive work rate, you'll find them more likely to track back in certain situations. And then obviously low, you'll find that they don't track back as much and they do stay forward more. Now we've come back on defence, naturally they're going to track back more. Now it's important to note here that the game does a really good job of making sure that these will play kind of wing back roles if you don't have any fullbacks. So for example, if you're playing a system with no fullbacks and just the wingers, let's say like this 3-5-1-1, you've got two wide midfielders there. If you've got comeback on defence on the two wide midfielders, bear in mind that these guys are going to fall back into the defensive line and form back five, because naturally they're playing the role as wing backs. And it will be the same if they're also at left and right winger as well. So for example, for any of you, and we've done this a lot on the channel in the past, creating a total football 3-4-3 tactic in which you've got three centre backs and you've got four central midfielders, and then obviously the three attackers with two wingers. You have the wingers on comeback on defence, they'll be tracking back and playing like fullbacks basically and wing backs. That's not what you want in that system. So that's something you are of course going to have to bear in mind. And then naturally with stay forward, of course they're generally going to stay up front and they're going to hold their position really, and that one's pretty self-explanatory. So moving on to the chance creation then, starting off with the balanced width kind of instruction. That's going to be dependent generally on the tactics, for example, kind of what width you're playing at with the kind of offensive shape. And it will also be, of course, depending on your chance creation as well. And then you've got cut inside. And what this is going to do, and something we mentioned in a lot of our tactics videos, is they're going to angle their runs a bit more, especially if they're on getting behind, which we'll talk about shortly. They're generally going to be, of course, coming in to support those central players more. And that's what that's going to do. Whether or not you've got it on come short or getting behind, their role there is to then start making bits of runs and movement into those central areas. With stay wide, of course, they're going to get on the touchline. You're really going to notice them stretching the play, particularly as wingers. And then free roam, which is probably the most kind of fun one to play with of all of them. With free roam, what you've got is a player who's going to really pop around into lots of pockets of space more. This is more suited to someone. They're not going to kind of be darting in behind, even if you've got forward runs. Generally what they're going to do is they're going to look to drop into more like pockets of space and look to show for the ball more. And that's really what they're going to do. They're generally in all positions going to come a little bit deeper to show for the ball. On top of that, that won't just be out wing. You'll find them coming into the central areas more, drifting around. As it says, they're going to roam into space. It is a free roll, and look to provide a passing option. So with the support runs, balance, again, as we've mentioned, pretty much dependent on the likes of the chance creation. Is it on forward runs? Is it on possession? Forward runs, they're of course going to be more likely to make runs in behind. And also on their work rate as well. Do they have a high attacking work rate, a medium or low one? That again is going to be dependent on how often they're kind of running in behind and making that movement. Getting behind is naturally very self-explanatory. They're going to look to penetrate the opposition's back line and make those runs in behind very handy for all systems, and ones that you guys will generally be using in FIFA, such as kind of the meta and the design of the gameplay. Come short, of course, again, very self-explanatory. They're going to drop deeper and they're going to look to offer for the ball, even if you've got forward runs on the tactical instructions. And the role of that is really to help you kind of build up the play. Usually I have kind of on running and overlapping fullbacks or other attackers, etc. And that's really where you're going to get the best out of that one. And then with target man, perhaps the most pointless of all of the player instructions in the game for a winger is target man. I can count on one hand the number of times I've seen a team in real life use this. Doesn't happen often because not really very successful. And generally what you're going to find, despite the fact it says back into an opponent and ask for the ball to feet, that's not really handy for a winger. Someone out wide, someone who's playing on the touchline. And so, I don't think you guys are generally going to use this very often. You'll generally find that they're really more immobile than anything. They don't make as much movement. They don't run as much either way. Don't drop off the show for the ball. Don't penetrate the back line as much. So really, it's a bit of a null and void instruction. Support on crosses then, finally, before we move on to the strikers. Balance crossing runs, again, dependent on the tactical instructions. How many players do you have getting into the box? And how many players are set on to get into the box? It will obviously play a role in that. Getting to the box, naturally, very self-explanatory. You're going to find them making runs into the box. And then stay on the edge of the box, they're naturally going to hold their position and not commit into getting to the box. So that one's very self-explanatory. You guys don't need me to go into that often. We talked about the interceptions in both of the previous videos, so I'd advise you guys to go and check out those ones, those other tactics tutorials. There's no real need for us to explain it in this one. So that's the wingers. What about the strikers? Obviously some differing roles here. First things first with support runs. Now, I just want to talk about this because stay central, obviously very self-explanatory. They're generally going to be in between the posts and show for the ball that way. Drift wide, however, there is some confusion amongst this because some people get the wrong idea that drift wide means they're going to kind of be coming out to the winger and cutting onto the touchline and stuff. Vacating that position. Not actually true. What drift wide does is it does a good job of replicating those real life kind of pieces of movement from strikers where they just kind of peel away from the centre back and get into the half channels. It's not like they're coming out ultra wide to the touchline, everything. Say, for example, someone who does it a lot is Erling Haaland. I mean, most strikers do it, but Haaland is a good one where rather than just staying in between the posts, you'll see him kind of peel off the centre-back and get in between the full-back and the centre-back, and that's that half channel, those half spaces that we talk about. That's what it does. Really, really handy. Something we've used a lot in the tactics, and I definitely advise it for people, particularly ones who've got their strikers on getting behind, because it's just going to vary their movement, look to utilise more of the width of the pitch. So with attacking runs then, we'll come on to mix shortly because I want to talk about these two first. Getting behind, very self-explanatory. Obviously, they're going to make those penetrating runs in behind the back line. And with target man, now again, I've had some people ask me this question this year actually, asking what is the difference between target man and false nine? Well, the difference is with target man, yes, they are going to show for the ball, but they're still going to do it pretty much on the last line. They're going to look to back into the defender more. It's something that EA have kind of patched and worked on for this game, and it does work a little bit more effectively for FIFA 23. So yes, they are going to show for the ball, but they'll do it closer to the last man. Whereas false nine is pretty much going to be an extra midfielder because they are going to drop really deep into the midfield in order to show for the ball and pick up possession. So that is the major difference between Target Man and False 9. With Target Man, you've still got that out ball up top, whereas False 9 is obviously going to come in and act as an extra midfielder in those kind of middle third possessional situations. Mixed attack, it's also worth bearing in mind, mixed attack will only merge getting behind and Target Man. If you have it on mixed attack, they're not going to be doing all three, where including a False 9, where the False 9 will obviously be dropping off. It won't do that with mixed attack. It will only merge between Target Man and getting behind, so also something that you do need to bear in mind. And finally, with defensive support, very self-explanatory yet again. Come back on defense, you're going to get them tracking back. This I've noticed as a striker is more dependent on the work rate, even more so than other areas such as the wingers. You know, if a striker doesn't have high defensive work rate, the chances of them tracking back, even when on comeback on defense, are fairly slim. Stay forward again, they're going to act as that out ball and they're not going to track back. And then when you have them on basic defensive support, you'll generally find that they still stay forward anyway. So if you do want them tracking back, you're always going to want them on comeback on defense. And so with that being said, that just about rounds off this tactics tutorial. We're going to do another video soon discussing and explaining all of the tactical instructions for the actual team tactics, so do check that out. Ring the bell to get notifications every time I upload, and when I do, you will see it first on the channel. For those of you who have made it through to the end, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out all of my other content on the channel and my Patreon. Lots of fantastic perks and rewards on there, such as my FIFA 23 tactics package and exclusive tactics videos as well. Check out my video games podcast, the Ash Bros Gaming Podcast. We discuss all things video games, including some episodes dedicated to the likes of FIFA and Football Manager as well. So please go and check that out. All the links are down below. I think you guys will really enjoy it if you want your video game fix. With that being said, we're just about ready to round it off. So until the next one, thank you so much for watching. I've been Ash, and I will see you soon.